Ladies and gents, welcome back to the finals of the First Strike North America Closed Qualifiers, brought to you by Nerd Street Gamers. I'm joined by Vansili and Bog, and we are heading into map 3 in this best of 5 between 100 Thieves and Envy. Well, it's 2-0 to Envy right now, but I feel like we finally have ourselves a game. Bog, what stood out to you in that split map?
I mean, the fact that 100 Thieves was at least able to put up some rounds against Envy, a team that has historically been really strong on a map like Split. So that was promising. The rounds at times were a little bit odd. We saw some really aggressive plays coming in from both teams. We look back at a round where Asuna dies to food, just dive bombing mid, looking for an eco kill. That kind of play probably wasn't necessary, but at the same point in time, I like the fact that 100 Thieves is starting to get some of that swagger back because they lost that in that first map. This round in particular was so incredibly close. Asuna doesn't win that 1v1. But we saw a couple of these highlight moments, especially for a player like Nitro and also for Steel, as well as Dicey. The team was starting to wake up. That's what stands out for me, is that individual performance was starting to shine through for 100 Thieves, which is something we definitely did not see in map number 1.
Yeah, and I think for me, when you're trying to summarize those two maps as well all together, is the fact that, yes, they're able to do quite well for the 100 Thieves to start things off, but the issue right now is the force buys coming in from Envy on that second round. So with the Stingers, with the Sheriffs, a couple of times it's been back and forth where they're able to win with maybe one or two players only alive there for 100 Thieves, and then it gets into a moment where they're immediately reset. So for the rest of the game, you're kind of trailing from behind and trying to catch up in terms of your economy, because they never allow Envy, that is, never allows 100 Thieves to actually get their economy right. So they have to win. If they continue to win pistols convincingly here for the 100 Thieves, they have to make sure that they're able to salvage that second round. And on a map like Ascent, it's still very doable, like we said before. They're very good on Ascent here for the 100 Thieves, but so are Envy. So when you have players on these second rounds that could actually get openers like Crashies, like Caboose, and Caboose has been on fire this whole series so far, it's not going to be an easy task for the 100 Thieves into Ascent.
Well, in terms of Envy, we have seen teams in the past slip up at crucial moments like this, because it is very, very comfortable to go into map 3 when you have a 2-0 lead. So if you were Envy right now, Bok, what do they need to hold on to, and what do they need to keep doing to keep that consistency and make sure they close this one out?
Don't get complacent. Don't get comfortable, but also don't get overconfident. If you're a player on Envy, you can't think like, oh, we're up 2-0, who cares? We can easily just end this. Even if we lose this next map, it's fine. We still got opportunities. That should never be your mindset. It should always be to end things as easily and as fast as you possibly can. And that's the most competitive mindset. And we see teams sometimes fall into that trap in North American esports, where they kind of get a little too confident and things start to spiral out of control. I don't know if we're necessarily going to get that from Envy, but I like to think that that's not going to happen.
Yeah, I like to say that one of those examples, I think, in my opinion, where that T1 versus Sentinels on Bind, where they actually were winning 7-0 into a half.
7-0.
And then suddenly became 7-5, I think, and even 9-7. Sentinels came back to win 9 rounds in a row. So despite you having that lead, maintain that composure to make sure that you finish the series on the right foot that you want, and just to continue that conversation, sorry, to say, stop sleeping on us, stop sleeping on Envy. It seems as though, we talk about like the TSM, the Sentinels, and then the Tenzin friends that are now respected as Cloud9. I think Envy is definitely looking for that respect too. So to be able to win that series 3-0 into this one convincingly on the third, definitely could add them into that conversation. But on the other end for 100 Thieves, like I said, they're new into the roster as a roster. They're new into this competition. They never got really tested with this roster, and to already make it to the finals, if they're able to come back, especially a reverse sweep versus Envy, man, you have definitely 100 Thieves skyrocketing into that conversation as well.
Just before we're heading to the third map, I wanted to quickly raise something that I saw in Twitch chat. Feel free to show us your chest right now, Bog, any opportunity. But I saw, oh no, you took it off. But I saw a lot of people in chat spam, Hastro is better than Nashor. And of course, these two guys have deep rivalry if we take it back to the Call of Duty days. And now it's happening in Valorant. Of course, I say the biggest and most prominent rivalry right now in NA Valorant is, of course, TSM versus Sentinels, and I feel like they're the only ones that have brewed a deep enough rivalry so far in the scene. How great would it be for you guys to get a narrative like maybe 100 Thieves versus Envy, the Nate Shaw versus Hastro storyline going into a main event as big as the one that's coming up in December, Vansili?
I love it, actually. And when you're talking about them as entities, as Envy versus the 100 Thieves, it also comes down to when Hastro used to be a pro and Nadeshot used to be a pro as well. And that's just really fun to see that as they grow out and retire from their professional career and still continue to build esports, they still have that sort of rivalry that could be really, really fun to talk about and really, really fun to express and for the audience and the fans to see.
Well, 100 Thieves must win this if they want to stay in this best of 5. It is Ascent next. Let's see if they can do it, guys.
Well, let's see indeed. I'm a little bit concerned right now as 100 Thieves has not been able to pick up either of the first 2 maps, and while they started to wake up on Split, now they move to Ascent. Now, I will say this has not always been a great map for the likes of Envy. While they've had some big wins, they've also had losses, losing more recently to Renegades, and that surprising first map in their best of 3 yesterday.
True.
And I think there's possibility here for 100 Thieves to find a big win. We'll see if that's in fact going to be the case as we get ready to kick things off in the pistol. Reminder, 100 Thieves beat TSM on this very map. So that was a huge win for them. And they might have kind of set the precedent that this is not going to be a map where you can just brush them aside. Looking at the composition, we've got Omen, Sova, and then we've also got the Reyna, the Phoenix, and of course the Cypher for Envy on the other side. Jet, Reyna, Sova, Killjoy, and Omen. No surprise there. Asuna swapping away from Raze to play the Reyna. Always love to see it. Regardless of what agent he plays, I feel like he always delivers.
Yeah, right now definitely using Duelist for individual plays, selfish plays as Reyna instead of Raze seems to be the case for both of these teams. And it starts off with a great pistol, a trade-off of 4 versus 4. Cyber cages to come up and her turtle sight in the back of the site. But Mummy at the staircase, another frenzy, 2 kills going on in his favor. But then Crashies is just going to end it, unfortunately. Hiko, the last one to come into the site, quite normal because he is the one that's trying to find the information for the team. Cannot come in for the clutch, and it's going to be Envy, decisive pistol round.
Envy picking up where they left off in the last 2 maps as they stomp out the push from 100 Thieves. The response from 100 Thieves, sheriffs and armor across the board. Another force buy coming in. We've seen that already from them on their attacking halves. They don't really seem to slow down. They almost always go into that second round with a little bit of extra oomph. Can you blame them with the firepower that they bring to the table? The recon dart comes in, as do the shock darts. That one does land in Steel's lap, does a little bit of damage. Tips away 5 HP, but some armor as well. There's the wide swing as well, the paranoia coming out. But the team is actually grouping up more towards mid, and they just lost the spike. That's a huge kill. The spike is dropped actually in no man's land. Luckily for them, their Jet is actually able to go and pick it up. Asuna taking significant damage from Mame over on short. Dicey with a nice shot from distance delivered by the Sheriff. Puts Crashies in an uncomfortable position. Holding down short alone. Dink shot coming through, but it's not really going to make a difference. Crashies getting those last 2 kills. 2 on the board early for Envy. And a high survival rate as well means money's going to start stacking up a bit better than it did in the last map. And
especially when you're trying to peek 1 by 1 like that instead of going for that double swing to make it a little bit easier and maybe possible for you to overtake the trade on an eco for 100 Thieves. Unfortunately, it wasn't the case there as, you know, they were trying to get their money right, but also for Envy, you saw, and we talked about at the pregame, how aggressive they like to be towards the A main, and they did so before with the Reyna pushing forward, and this time they might do it again. You already see the smoke happening towards the top mid. They have a paranoia set up just in case there's any type of push or any type of footsteps being heard, but it's not needed. We're able to put one inside the corner of the wine area. And as the rest of 100 Thieves, they're trying to push forward with another mix buy, only having the Sheriffs into this round. But it's Food, aiming on the site, on the top of Switch, looks down towards Pizza, and Asuna falls.
Food going to use the hot hands to heal up and drop the door down as well. 100 Thieves do have bid control, at least for the time being. Tripwire gets taken out by Dicey, who again is on a Sheriff. The buy coming in from 100 Thieves, not fantastic due to the fact that they did force in the last round and weren't able to make much work for them. Steel pushing in closer. Mummy currently at the backside of A Heaven, does some damage but decides to back off. Good call. Give them control of mid for the time being. Steel is currently on 45 HP. It's the 3 remaining players for 100 Thieves trying to move up into mid. And while they've gotten up pretty far close to spawn, they haven't been able to do much with it, as they're not sure of a looming threat that could be waiting on both sides. On one side, you've got Omen. On the other side, you've got nothing. But 100 Thieves none the wiser to that, as Mummy again gets a backpedal off the early damage that comes his direction and continues to just get that information and buy time for his team to get into better positions. Mummy now right around the corner, still can't manage to make it work with the Sheriff, but just a few seconds left as they try to make their way onto the site. Somehow they're going to get a spike plant out of this potentially. No, it's denied, and the round is as well. With just 2 seconds left, there's nothing that can be done for Dicey, who's executed in the end by FNS. Envy, only 2 players survive, but it's a round win nonetheless.
A very nice positioning by Crashies in the end. Just holding it towards the hell. He knows that he has the time in his hands. He's okay to even let them plant if they wanted to, but he waited at the absolute last moment before he could actually swing out towards the generator. As because exactly there was only 10 seconds left for 100 Thieves to actually get into the site and to try to get a spike plant, they really didn't have any time to go for any type of trades, or should I say, to clear sites. They just tried to move forward and tried to protect the spike carrier instead of going out to clear out the area. And Crashies just was able to come out from hell, surprise attack, 2 guys down, and Envy seals the deal. But still getting 2 kills, almost a spike plant. It's not that great of an eco, at least in my opinion, for 100 Thieves, but at least they have a rifle round coming in this time, where very important for them, as Envy has been controlling, once again, the beginning of the game. And they have to stop them in their tracks now on the attacker side. And it's Asuna trying to move forward. Op shot missed, that forces Mummy back. So Owl Drone, sorry, is going to spot one, and it's still going to be Food that gets the kill onto Asuna from the mid side. But they're coming in from all angles, actually, for 100 Thieves. They pushed out towards the A main. It's trading out. They got Catwalk. It's down to a 3 versus 3, but the spike is so far back. So they are going to waste some precious time for the 100 Thieves to come back and pick up spike, and at the same time lose map control. So they have to take that, then work back together towards the mid. Lots of precious time is wasted.
Crashy's currently on Catwalk, has to be careful. You can see Hiko is currently ready to fire a dart into that position. It goes on the opposite corner, and Crashy's is able to dodge the damage. Has to be careful. There's one right around the corner. The Op tries to peek out closer, and Crashy's capitalizes. It'll now fall onto Hiko. With 23 seconds left, he starts to move into position and gets spotted from spawn. Jump peeks coming out on short as well to make sure that he's not moving in too close. As he peeks up, Food is waiting for him with an Op. Envy have not slowed down moving into map number 3. 4 straight rounds for them, as 100 Thieves have yet to get things going on the attacking side. And it'll be another pistol armor buy coming in for 100 Thieves as well.
I wouldn't be surprised now if we see the Blade Storm coming out too, and this could be something very aggressive for 100 Thieves too, as they're going to go behind Dicey if they could work with something like that. Because if they grab the Orb, for example, through the rush, or if they get trade-offs for Nitro and Steel, that's a lockdown ability available to allow them to clear, which seems to be, at the beginning, a push towards this B side. But that camera that FNS loves to put is a great spot to put it, and it's going to be a leer that covers it up to start things off. And they pick up the Orb, and there's the lockdown. How can they hold this now for Envy with this Crossfire? Oh, it's going to be an ult to stop it.
The Hunter's Fury sending pulses out. FNS is waiting right around the corner. There's players in B main, just has to be patient right now as the Leer comes through first and blinds him. Nice dash coming out from Dicey, but it's not enough to get past FNS, who manages to pick up one more. Yet again, it's Hiko all alone, and Envy just keep things going. The gas pedal is currently pressed to the floor for Envy, and they show no signs of picking up that lead foot.
5 unanswered rounds. I don't know what kind of answer you could actually bring back here for 100 Thieves. With the utilities that you have, I think you have Asuna that can maybe work towards this A main control, trying to leer towards the area and battle back versus maybe sometimes we have that Mummy opting with the operator towards A main. This time it's going to be Food, though. This could be a good advantage. It's going to be a 3 versus 1 there, where the one that sets up the paranoia is not there. He's actually playing towards the B side, but that's because Food has to run it back. So that's information, at least on the first one running through. A dart spots the second one, so they're going to spray through the default box, but Food still comes out on the white swing to save his teammate. Hunter's Fury to come out. Food is still looking to save his life in the front, but they line up, and Hiko takes 2 with the Hunter's Fury. You also have control towards the back of the site, as it seems as though we do have the Omen already making his way with Nitro. Watching the rotation, but he loses the fight to Caboose up on Catwalk. A 3 versus 2, a spray through the smoke. Caboose is down to 81 HP, but they have wasted enough time here for Envy to eventually come in for a crunch time into the A site. Trade after trade, though, it's going to be Hiko looking to clutch this out. He's spotted his wide swing on 2 players, but cannot get a single one, and Envy continues to take the lead by 6 unanswered rounds.
Hiko gets a huge opener. 2 kills on the Hunter's Fury, and yet somehow 100 Thieves still falls short. We've seen that pole position for Envy change from player to player. This time around, it's Crashies playing as Sova, no less. 10-2 on the defense for Envy. We've seen Caboose in that position. We've seen Food and Mummy all tournament long also in that top spot. Even FNS get close sometimes. It's just not working out well here for 100 Thieves. We'll see what they can do, and you can see some of that aggression already coming out. Look at this play. A little bit too ballsy for Caboose as he gets too aggressive. The pick-off shot from short doesn't work out for Mummy, so he'll have to back off. That's a weapon picked up for 100 Thieves off a bit of an aggressive play coming out from Envy that cost them a player advantage early on.
That's what we mentioned before, Buck, at the pregame of this map. Even though you have a lead, maintain your composure, and Mummy does so. A connection onto Asuna, crashes with the crossfire. He's able to get the kill, but that's 3, made that 4 simultaneous kills towards that mid side and A as they're trying to pinch from Envy on that mid side. And we didn't see those kills, but we definitely saw how immediate that was on the kill feed, where an Eco then comes in for 100 Thieves, a thrifty round to start things off and try to get things rolling on their attacker side.
Again, this is a map that Steel really performed on, really excelled on for 100 Thieves earlier in this tournament.
Especially on defense.
Yeah, but that's the thing. On defense, on attack, Killjoy, it's awkward. We've mentioned it already. Asuna, though, playing as Reyna, has yet to get a kill. Struggling currently as Envy has controlled the early game pace, much like they did on Bind. You've got Mummy in position with the op, and then the peek comes through from Caboose in Wine Cellar, and he'll get out of the dodge pretty quickly. So an early pick that can't be traded. And 100 Thieves is at a disadvantage. Steel now trying to move past the dark cover, does have an operator, wants to move in close, but Mummy is waiting on the other side with arms wide open. It's a nice big hug coming in from the op. The spam through the box, right on the money. 100 Thieves, yet again, reduced to just 2, as Envy looks so strong on the defense. 50 seconds left for Hiko and Nitro to try to make something happen.
At least they're grouped up. But a better positioning here from Caboose that can actually get the kill / dismiss if he gets it. But he opts to fall back instead. He does have support already on Catwalk. There you go. That's Crashies coming out from the garden. And they don't even need to help each other out. When you're landing your shots like these guys are since the beginning of this series, it's definitely a hard battle to take versus for any team facing against Envy right now. And so far, unfortunately, the short end of the stick is definitely 100 Thieves into this matchup. And as you mentioned, Asuna, unfortunately, not being able to get any kills so far in this half, I think it's just well due to the fact that Envy are just controlling every single angle and controlling Asuna well, where they don't allow him to get those selfish plays to try to get entries for himself. Like, look at him. When he's working towards his orb, nobody's working back towards the area. Like, nobody's peeking on that time. So when they're trying to go for these guest plays and where the positioning from the defenders will be at the beginning, they're on the opposite of the map. They're turtled back. They're forcing now 100 Thieves to get into versus a stack, and it just doesn't work out.
That timing as well was perfect over in A main. Mummy with a nice paranoia, but it wasn't even necessary as Asuna got towards the switch before being taken down. The spike is dropped back pretty far towards spawn. And it's going to be another 2 on many. This time, though, it's Jet, Dicey, and Hiko trying to make things happen. You've still got Reyna on site. Omen is there as well towards Cat. Dark cover coming out to make things a little bit more difficult for them, putting a little bit more in the way. Now, Dicey does have the ult. The knives can come out. Bladestorm is available, but look at the other side. 4 ults total, all waiting to be utilized for Envy, and they honestly don't even need to. Dicey, the initial peak, it seems like it. I mean, that spike is so far away, and it looks like Dicey wants to just try to get across and get back. Yeah, it's exactly what ends up happening. So they're sitting back with a spike right now on Cat. They realize the value in hand is worth more than the round possibility. So it will be 8 rounds for Envy as 100 Thieves, they found one, but then stall out shortly after.
10 seconds left.
Good thing that they're still walking here because FNS is pushing forward. They're going to hear FNS coming forward towards the back of the mid, and it's going to be Hiko that's going to have to watch Dicey's back. And Hiko at least wins that 1 versus 1. So they're being chased towards the back, to dash towards the back as well. Will they be able to save it? They will. So I like to say there on that 4 versus 2 that they had for the 100 Thieves, they tried whatever they could, right? It really counted on the positioning of where Envy was on the A side. That off the recon dart that went off the wall, if they could ping somebody out, maybe Dicey could dash in or get the better angle as they're trying to break the dart or trying to get out of position so they could move inside the site. But as they stayed very calm, cool, and collected for Envy on that 4 versus 2, they're only guessing that they go for shock darts that he's maybe playing towards Hell, and they didn't really know that he was playing towards the back of the generator. So with that, you're playing the time into your hands, and finally, we do have Asuna on the board for the first kill versus Food. And as we mentioned it before, when you're trying to play aggressive on Envy with the confidence, it happened before 2 rounds ago when they won a Thrifty round. This time it's going to be on a gun round that allows Asuna to get the 2nd point onto the board, making that Dicey chiming in and steal as well. It's looking to be a flawless, but unfortunately it gets stopped. But Crashy still gets spotted towards the back of the site, back of the spawn, and he's getting wall banged down to 15 HP. It's looking to win on a 4 versus 1, but at least that'll secure a spike plan towards that B side that allows 100 Thieves to breathe a bit into the round and also into the series as they're able to tally up with the 2nd round into this half.
It's a game of inches right now for 100 Thieves. They need to close things out with just a few more rounds. An 8-4 half before they swap sides is certainly recoverable. But thus far, the way that Envy has played, they've made that almost impossible. Look at the fact that in every round that Envy has lost, there has not been one spike plant. Full elimination rounds as Envy has taken full control of the early round and made it almost impossible for 100 Thieves to do anything. Steal early on, goes to the peak, takes out the camera, the shot from the op is off the money. There's the ult coming out from Killjoy, so Lockdown will at least attempt to clear out the B site. But there's the pulses coming out, they're trying to take down the ult for the Killjoy and it works out. So they pop that ult and they manage to eliminate the threat. Steel still moving in. Spray coming down towards the stairs. Okay. Nice shooting by both him and Asuna to make it a favorable round. FNS and Caboose trying to do what they can, but it all falls onto Caboose, who pops Empress. Now in a 1v3, a target in spawn, spotted them as they try to go around the corner. There's the Lear to lead them in, and yeah, not really much that Nitro can do about that one.
Oh, an off-shot miss as he dismisses. Oh my god, that was so good from Caboose. Now he gets inside the site, the Lear. That 2 versus 1, but a perfect recon dart spots him towards the cabin. The right click then comes in from Dicey, and they save that round for the 100 Thieves, and I loved it. When they actually put the Killjoy ult down towards that beam in, I was like, this is not going to work, because they have a Hunter's Fury still. And for the 2nd time, the Hunter's Fury from Crashies cancels it. But what we didn't see, what was happening towards that minimap, you have the Empress that was popped from Asuna, able to move in and get an entry kill towards the garden side. That forced maybe one player to rotate across towards that site, towards the A side, which slowly weakened down the defense on B. Still getting that wall bang was important, which allowed then 100 Thieves to move inside the B site, and even at the same time, keeping Caboose busy. Like I said, has been on fire throughout this whole series, and Asuna was able to contain him long enough for Envy to go for the pulse pass situation and position.
There's the ult being popped, and they're starting to run into position. 100 Thieves capitalizes on poor timing from Envy on the ult pop. Everything lands on Crashies, who's currently in sight. The cross shot is right on the money. That buys time for Crashies, who's currently on site. Mummy maybe just saving the day with that quick shot that comes out. Now Crashies may have seen the barrel around the corner. That's the spike going down. Hiko's trying to move into position. Crashies now has to keep his head on a swivel. There's a player on both sides. Now the Nano Swarm will land in sight just outside of Hell, but there's the quick shot coming in from Crashies. He's now brought it down to a one-on-one. It's Crashies versus the clutch god himself, Hiko, who's trying to spam those boxes in sight to spot out his final target. There's the shock dart coming in, looking to do additional damage. Crashies with a huge play to cap off the first half. A big 3K to give MV round number 9.
We were definitely in medieval times there on that 1 versus 1 between Crashies and Hiko, but yes, like you said, his head on a swivel and still clutches a 2 versus 1. But that wasn't possible thanks to this player that we just saw with this highlight reel of 2 kills at pistol. Mummy landing that shot allowed Crashies to just focus towards the front of the site to capitalize on the first kill as they're pinching into the A main side and also from the sliding door to eventually clutch that 2 versus 1. So the communication continues to stay strong for Team Envy as they take the lead. But the thing is now, as we mentioned before, when Steel has played a good game, it was on the defender side. And the reason why I say that is because you had players like Steel. You also had the chance for Asuna inside that B side to dance around those boxes, dance around the boathouse to actually always win these fights versus aggressive pushes from their opponents. And we'll see if Envy, knowing that, will decide to work more towards the mid side or the A side, or are they still that confident throughout this whole series to just bring the fight towards 100 Thieves? And it seems as though for this round, they are just going to bring the fight towards them.
See what happens here as the drone goes in first and hiding inside the smoke. Multiple threats from that defense. Steel is on site, and oh boy, Steel is going to need some help. The turret gets taken down. Paranoia pours into that position. Nice quick shot coming out from Steel, doing what he can. But the spike will be planted. Dicey's looking for that target that should have been short. Hiko's going to pick one off, and that's actually the spike planter going down as the shock dart lands right on the money. Now Dicey hits an initial dink shot, has to follow it up with a shot in the toe. But regardless, 100 Thieves have themselves in a great position. It's now a 2-on-4. The Frenzy in close position, not going to work out so well, and it's all up to Mummy. Mummy's picked off one, trying to make it work, but there's just too many targets, and they are far too close. 9-3 is the score currently. The spike will be defused, putting 100 Thieves on 4 rounds and giving them a chance to try and build a comeback.
The big test for 100 Thieves in this half right now is right here, in my opinion, where you actually do have the force buy for 100 Thieves. Well, not the force buy, the upgrade, of course, for 100 Thieves because they won pistol, but the force buy from Envy. They're going with the Stingers again. They're going with the Sheriffs again. And back to that storyline, they were successful on these force buys. Crashies, Caboose, look out for these guys with the Sheriff. Mummy has one wielded as well. And they are working as a team so far. It seems as though they want to look for this mid control and have FNS lurk towards B main. And as he's being wallbanged by the Ares, he's down to low HP. A great start, at least for Envy, to try to stay alive, win the round, and try to win the round with as many players as possible so the economy could still stay very healthy on their side so they could catch up in this game.
Nico sitting back, about to send out a shock dart as one of his teammates falls by the wayside. Dicey will be sent to the afterlife for the remainder of the round. Envy moves fast, trying to take control of Catwalk and explode onto the A site where you've still got one waiting. Hiko sends some shots downrange, but decides to back off. As the spike comes through, there's a shock dart out. Crashies with great shooting on the Sheriff. Some bullets pouring through the floor, doing damage, but there will be no fatalities as of yet. 4-on-3 numbers advantage still in favor of Envy. But the equipment brought into the round favors 100 Thieves. As I say that, they lose another piece. There's significant damage dealt to 2, but it's looking harder and harder for the remaining 2 on 100 Thieves. Hiko coming through from heaven. He's got Nitro moving in from Cat. They start to work their way in. Paranoia goes out. That will be what leads them in, giving them protection from Hell. It all falls on to Hiko. Just like that, Envy finds round number 10. The pistols working out wonderfully for a team who already had a massive advantage in this third map.
What did I say, right? Look out for those sheriffs, and they rang for the last 2 kills, but I think the biggest kill that they had was that stinger. I'm pretty sure that was in the hands of Food. When they almost had a nice double flank on mid side for the 100 Thieves, he turned around. You didn't see it on camera, but I heard the shots. He definitely aimed down the sight, went for 2 burst shots, and got the kill long range into one of the defenders rotating across, which allowed then for them to take the catwalk position, and even a paranoia to be thrown towards back mid, forced Arena to fall back into the site, which was, or sorry, towards back of the attacker spawn, which was Asuna. But then he tried to do the heroic play by himself inside A, which he gets punished for, and Envy just took control of the round after that. So back on an eco is going to be the 100 Thieves, as they're going for a 3-man stack up on catwalk. The participation medal so far was that they were able to put down Food to 5 HP before he has to heal back up, but then Dicey has different plans. He peeks out on the catwalk, he takes 2, make that even a 3rd one, but it gets traded off finally by Crashy. Killing spree has been stopped, but it's still a 2-man advantage in favor of the defenders.
One enemy remaining.
Well, so much for that strong push coming in from Envy here after picking up that nice round previously. Crashies all alone with a Bulldog. We'll see if that Bulldog is all bark, no bite. It seems to be the case. Asuna peeks out from catwalk. 4 players survive as 100 Thieves fire right back. Not willing to surrender this third and potentially final map in the series. Take a look at the scoreboard. Dicey 16 and 11 as Jet. On the flip side, Crashies 19 and 8. Yeah. Absurd numbers coming in from the Sova. Food sitting at 13 and 8 as well. Solid numbers in general. But we'll see what happens here. The buy coming in from 100 Thieves, despite the round win, is still a little bit awkward. You've got Steel on a Sheriff, an SMG for Asuna. Full buy for Envy. So what does Steel decide to do? Wants to get aggressive, takes down the cam initially. The curveball comes around the corner. Steel has to back off. That does give them control of the ult orb, which means run it back is now a problem. As he peeks wide, he does drop the spike plant, but there's the push that comes through with that ult as well. They're going to move into position. The knives, not exactly where they need to be initially for Dicey, but eventually does take down the Phoenix. The ult will send him reeling back into B main. Caboose picking off Nitro, who was hiding in the site. And it's a 4-on-3 in favor of Envy.
You still have the knives up there. It's been replenished as he kills to run it back earlier on by Food. Low HP, though, is going to be the Reyna Asuna trying to move forward. Stuck at the cabin. Now being pinged by the Owl Drone, courtesy of Crashy Silva, who's been a thorn on their side. When we talked about how good Mummy could be in the server with the operator, it's not needed when players like Crashies continue to be such a dominant factor for the success of Envy on this map. But Dicey trying to move in. We're still watching him. It's just Hiko trying to do heroic plays on his own. He gets a second one here, but the clock is still ticking on that spike. They're just looking for that econ damage, and there you go. And he's even going to possibly die to the spike too, and indeed it will. 11-5 in favor of Envy. As again, they're looking to seal this on a flawless 3-0 in the series. But to start things off, the way that they try to peek there towards that B main, you can't really discredit Steel for that one, too. It was just a poor timing because you saw just the first person wasn't paranoid, but Nitro did try to throw it towards that B main where we thought everybody was still stacked up when they heard the first orb so they could try to catch at least 1 or 2 players off guard. He got one, he got the spike carrier, but as he dies from an opponent that's so close into the round, on top of that a run it back available from Food, it's just hard for you inside that site on your own after that as Nitro to try to hold it.
Getting reminders of Split that early back and forth in that second half. Quick shot coming out from Envy. It was Mummy with the pickoff. Dicey wants to go through the Cyber Cage. There's the Hunter's Fury being popped from Hiko. He's had so much success converting on that ult throughout the series. Steel is able to pick one off as well with the Sheriff. This aggressive look is working out nicely, at least in the early round, but Envy's recovered as Mummy goes ham with the Bulldog, finding now 3 kills on the round. Damage definitely heavy currently for Mummy as the shots start coming through from catwalk. Mummy has to be careful. There's a paranoia and a backstab shot coming in from Crashies, no less. Hiko all the way over on B. The A site's been compromised. And Hiko is going to have to go big. It's a 1-on-3. He already picked off 1 with his ult to start the round. He's going to have to find 3 more to finish off the 4Cray to give 100 Thieves a must-win round.
Rigs the dart, shock darts coming and ringing just behind him. He hears the footsteps towards Hell and the generator, but now finally, maybe thinks that's still the second player though in his point of view. It's a perfect crossfire, it's a perfect bait and switch as well for Envy, and things are just going to be impossible for Hiko. That clock is running down, he misses it versus Crashies, and we now have map point, series point, and tournament point for Envy.
Match point.
That's brutal. Unfortunate turn of events there. Hiko did whatever he could, but it's looking all but gone at this point as 100 Thieves now have their backs against the wall, against the ropes, as Envy continues to prove that this team is no joke. Since the addition of Crashies and Food, Envy has been a serious threat. And we mentioned it coming into the series. Multiple teams made note to watch out for Envy during the open and closed qualifier, and you can see why. They have worked out so well throughout the bracket play from both the open qualifier and to this point currently, as they try to cap off an impressive run that would see them take #1 seed at Riot's event. There's Caboose with the kill, and I love the dismiss past the Nano Swarm, getting past that digital molly, as Rivington calls it, steals on sight over towards the generator, and Caboose is just cutting them to pieces. It all falls down onto 2. Asuna pops his ult as well, figures, what can I do? This is a bit of an odd ult coming out from Crashies, but it doesn't matter in the end. Caboose will get that third and final kill. Envy goes flawless in the grand finals with a 3-0 victory over 100 Thieves.
13-2 on Bind, 13-9 on Split, and 13-5 on Ascent. A dominating series for Envy, looking so good for this team. And now the argument is, are they the new #1 in NA? Who knows? What do you think, Insu?
Wow. I mean, massive congratulations to them for winning this qualifier. You know, they were definitely the better team today, and they've pretty much played everyone, you know, since the open qualifier in terms of the top teams, with the exception, of course, of the likes of TSM and Sentinels. Bok, how do you think this Envy roster would fend when they do have to eventually face those two teams?
That's a tough question, and if I'm being honest, I want to look at this win, and I feel like a lot of people are going to discount it and say, oh, this was a seeding match, it's not as important, it doesn't matter. I think ultimately we have to look at the fact that this mattered for both teams regardless of seeding. Both teams had a lot to prove. Envy wanted to prove that, you know, they were no longer like a #5, a #8 team in North America. They wanted to prove that they belonged more towards the top of that leaderboard. And on the other side, 100 Thieves wants to prove, like, you know, hey, we're the real deal. This is the first time you guys have seen us, and we have come out and we've showed up and made it all the way to the grand finals for our first event as a team. That's actually pretty impressive. And even though they don't end up winning, I do have to applaud them for that accomplishment, because not many other teams are able to say that they did the same thing. I think Envy very seriously pose a threat to teams like TSM and teams like Sentinels. And I think part of that will be the underestimation that comes in play when you've got a team like Envy. I think people are going to look at them and go, oh, this is the same Together We Are Terrific roster that we've been playing for a long time. We know what to expect. But I think, if anything, they've proven that that is not the case.
Yeah, and when we look back at whoever's qualified in top 4, and when we're going to look at the First Strike finals in December, it's, I said it yesterday, it's going to be a brand new game. You're going to play on a different patch where whatever changes are going to happen to Cypher and Killjoy will definitely affect some of the setups that some of the teams have, either on the attack or on the defense. Then you also have a new agent coming out. Icebox is also going to be in play. It just comes down to, you've already seen, we've had a good taste, at least, of Envy and all of these teams that qualified so far, how good they can be. But then it'll come down to who has the better preparation going into the next month, into the finals, for them to take it all. And it could still be anybody's event.
Well, as you said, Bok, in terms of that 100 Thieves roster, they are still new. I don't think it would be fair to expect them to just come in and win everything. I don't think anyone, even 100 Thieves fans, probably weren't even expecting them to get in the final, let alone putting up a good fight. So how forgiving can we be with this 100 Thieves roster? At what point do we start expecting them to actually do well, given how strong individually these players are?
Honestly, the fact that they made it here is surprising. I would have thought that they would have made potentially into the closed qualifier, but maybe fallen a little bit short. And I don't mean any disrespect to those players, but we've seen other teams in this position before, and that's been the case. But look at the teams who didn't even make it out of the open qualifier, and you can start to appreciate just how much 100 Thieves accomplished in this event. You've got teams like Anbox, FaZe, and then one of the big ones that stands out is a team like Energy. So I look at 100 Thieves and I say, this is a great accomplishment, despite the fact that they don't end up coming out as the #1 seed. So I think if you expect anything more from them in their first tournament, I think you're a bit bonkers. Yes, this team has tremendous talent, and there's a potential for this team to potentially be the best team in North America, or who knows, maybe even the world when we finally get back to global competition. But expecting that right off the bat is unfair. And Vansily, I'm sure you'll agree here, I would give them significant time before they get to that point, just because they have a lot of catching up to do, and they've already made up significant ground.
No, exactly. And when you just saw the bracket that came by, a couple of the teams that they had to surmount to make it there, TSM, Sentinels to make it to the grand finals. And another team that didn't make it into the closed qualifier is Cloud9. So that's two other teams, TSM and Cloud9, that people talk about a lot in the top 5 that probably didn't. People wouldn't blink an eye, or bat an eye rather, if those teams made it through. It was going to be like the story of the underdogs. And to be able to have two teams, not only 100 Thieves, but Renegades, this story of the underdogs for those two, I think it's a beautiful story that you could definitely tell your fans and your fans' grandkids about.
Well, out of those 4 teams, as we just saw in the bracket, that have made it to the main event, which team are you two most excited for? Bok, I'll come to you first.
I feel like I'm excited for Renegades. That was not a team I expected to see in this position. So they have a lot to prove, but they've also got like a bit of a chip on their shoulder, because I don't think anyone expected them to be in this position. And they're going to get discounted the whole way through. People are going to say, oh, this team underplayed when you played you. Similar to the way that Cloud9 beat TSM a couple of months ago during the Ignition series, and everyone said, oh, it was because TENS popped off. It wasn't because the team played well. It was just because of TENS. I think that we could be at the beginning of something really awesome for Renegades. Do I think that they'll be a top 5 team in North America? Not necessarily. Do I think they could be that team that comes away and steals a few maps from teams occasionally? Maybe even steals a series, catches people off guard with an upset? Absolutely. And I think this is the beginning of that storyline. And I'm curious to see what they're going to do as they move into that event with Riot, how they're going to continue that. I think that there is a very real potential that the upsets don't just stop here in the closed qualifier.
I echo that, but I think personally for me, I just like the storyline for every single one of these organizations for the top 4 that already made it forward, right? As you do have what Renegades are like, right? They have a lot to prove. 100 Thieves, I think, to be able to make it to the grand finals, if they're able to, into the first strike finals and even win that one, holy crap, is that a nice story for them. Sentinels, I mean, there's been some memes here and there throughout the week where, they might not take things seriously, but that when it's time for them to turn up, they turn up big. And as they're already #1 here in the NA rankings for the Spike.gg, well, they want to make sure that they seal that deal. And, all the haters, all the people that are doubting them, and the level of consistency that they say that they keep having, especially with the rivalry that they have with TSM, if they're going to continue to do that and win that event, that sealed the deal for that #1 team in North America. And last but not least, we just talked about it before, Envy. They want to be the talk of the town. They're definitely the talk of the town, winning this one so far, the first qualifier. And to me, probably the toughest qualifier, right? Because when you're actually going to move into the gauntlet next week, for those of the teams that actually didn't even make it to the closed qualifiers, teams like Nbox, Immortals, and Energy, they might have a better chance to at least make it to the closed qualifiers, but then they're going to have to play against TSM. They're going to have to play against Cloud9. That's where, already making it to the top 4 for these teams, you got to be happy with it.
Well, as we're coming to the end of this tournament, I wanted to ask you guys a bit of a tough question, I'd say. If we take into consideration of the open qualifiers, the group stage, the playoffs, and the top 4 semifinal and the final, if you had to choose one player, not necessarily like an MVP player, but someone that's impressed you, someone that stood out to you, someone that you've just loved watching, and you could only pick one, who would you pick and why?
Go ahead, Bach.
Yeah. It's a tough one. It's a tough one.
That's a real tough one.
I didn't really want to say MVP because, I think that's really tough to judge in a situation where not everyone played everyone. There were best of ones early and also the circumstances as well. So if you need some time, go ahead. But Vansily, it looks like you already made your mind up.
Okay, well, I guess it's going to be me. I think just based off what I've seen throughout the whole tournament is I'm probably going to have to say Caboose. Caboose for me, for Envy, throughout the whole, I mean, you already saw it from this week already. Of course, he had like 8 ping into the server, but it doesn't matter. Even if he had the same ping as everybody else, he's definitely the type of person that could definitely put a team on his back. And you saw it from the way that he's been rotating around and being a support player in terms of like support by getting the amount of kills that he's getting. He's definitely one of the key factors for sure, or one of the key players of this tournament in my eyes.
The tough thing is,
sure.
I'm trying to look at teams that also didn't even make it as far. I'm trying
That's
to
what I
make
was trying
sure
to think
that
too.
I look at teams because I'm thinking Jonah P, who plays for Complexity, played really well. You know, I'm looking at Hazed on TSM. Hazed had a couple of big rounds playing for TSM during their series. I'm looking at Nitro, who's obviously a big name, but people were maybe not sure what to expect from him as a player because he's transitioning over from playing CSGO for such a long time and just diving headfirst into the game.
So many.
So there's really so many names that it's almost impossible to pick just one. But I do feel like I want to lean towards Nitro. You know, I was really impressed with how well Nitro has adapted to Valorant so quickly. And I think that if anything, he's only going to get better. I think there's only room for him to improve. And we saw multiple like 3K, 4K rounds for him throughout the tournament. Expect that to increase, which is scary. When you think about a player like Nitro, who is maybe not necessarily a statistical stud when he played CS, potentially being a top performer in Valorant and just being a very serious and scary threat to face off against, that makes 100 Thieves unstoppable almost when a player like that is performing at that level.
Actually,
Yeah,
if I could add, if I want to add a cheesy answer to who's going to be my number one pick, it's definitely going to be the community, right? The fans that were able to hang out throughout this whole week, all the watch parties that we had throughout the week, from like Myth to Mixwell to Days to everybody, Sean Garris, the Mortal Minds, like everybody. I think we've had a lot of tremendous support, and I think everybody enjoyed like the great matches that we've seen, especially in the quarterfinals when all of these teams, the top 8 teams, were battling to see who were going to be the top 4 that qualifies. So it's been nothing but fun, and I want to thank the community for being cool.
I'm so glad you did that because I wanted to do that as well. Of course, all of the names that you mentioned, all of those community streams being great. I want to add Sliggy in there, Team Liquid's coach Sliggy. Shout out to the Slug Club. I know you guys are watching. I also just wanted to add, in terms of that MVP, to throw Sick in there. Sick has just been unreal for me this tournament. And I feel like he always slightly misses the mark because there's so many amazing players on that team. But for me, he's definitely a standout. And before I wrap everything up, gonna do a quick favorite moment from the tournament as well. I asked Vansili this yesterday. My favorite moment of the qualifier was Renegade's upset. I had to, you know, that was on the Nerd Street Gamers 2 stream. We saw that happen. What a great storyline for them. I'm very, very happy for the organization and for the team as well. Vansili, feel free to repeat yours from yesterday if you want, and then we'll move on to Bok.
Yeah, no, I'll just echo the sentiment of being the Cinderella story of Renegades, and hopefully it'll continue into the finals of First Strike, and that as we continue that Cinderella story for that team, it doesn't strike midnight too early, and they'll be able to have a deeper run as well.
You know what? I hate for all of us to match, but I feel like it's going to be the case. You know, watching Twitter and seeing CP2 tweet out that his dad, CP1,
that was dope,
is watching him, you know, win, and he's just cheering on with the family. Like, that's such a wholesome moment. How can you not love that? He's sitting there just going, oh my gosh, Chucky's team won. They beat one of the best teams. This is crazy. It's Junior. Like, that's so wholesome. So how can you not support that storyline? I think that definitely goes up there as one of the best moments from the weekend as well.
Well, that's all the time we have. Any last thoughts, guys?
Go ahead, Bok. I'll let you start.
That's all I gotta say.
Nice.
That's iconic. That is iconic. Yeah, you can't beat that now.
For me, big thank you to Nerd Street Gamers, production, observers. Everybody did a tremendous job. You guys for talent, for sure. It was an honor to work with you guys. And I appreciate all the love and support that you guys have given us as the fans as well, and giving me a chance to continue to give you guys, hopefully, some good Valorant casting, and we'll keep grinding on our end to make sure you guys get a good product and an entertaining product.
I love that. Well, thank you guys. Thank you, Bok and Vansili, and to all of the casters we've had on both streams over the past week. It's been great. Of course, congratulations to Envy for winning the final and qualifying for 1 out of the 4 spots in that main event alongside 100 Thieves, Renegades, and Sentinels. Thank you to everyone for watching at home. We've had an absolute blast. Make sure to tune into the UMG qualifier on November 16th if you want to find out which other 4 teams will be joining the 4 that qualified this week. I've been your host, Yingsu Collins, and we'll see you next time.